trade deadline is creeping closer, and something significant just shifted in the Western Conference landscape that could completely reshape the Lakers' championship aspirations this season. Right now, as I'm recording this video, there's a development involving a former top 10 draft pick, a player with elite athleticism, untapped potential, and a situation that's deteriorated to the point where he hasn't stepped on the court in over a month. Welcome to Lakers News Fan Report, your home for breaking news, insider analysis, and everything purple and gold. I'm here every single day bringing you the most important updates, the strategic breakdowns, and the honest conversations about our beloved Lakers. Today, I've got something that could be a game changer, and I need you to stick with me because this is one of those moments where the front office decisions we make in the next few weeks could define our entire season and potentially our future. Before we dive into the specifics of this developing situation, I want to set the stage for where we are right now as an organization. The Lakers sit in a position where we're competitive, we're fighting for playoff positioning, but let's be real with each other. We all know there are gaps in this roster that need addressing. LeBron James is still performing at an incredibly high level, defying age and expectations night after night. Anthony Davis has been dominant when healthy, anchoring our defense and providing that two-way impact we desperately need. But here's the truth that every Lakers fan understands deep down. We need more. We need that additional piece, that injection of youthful energy and explosiveness that can complement our superstars and give us the versatility to match up against the elite teams in the West. Look at the Western Conference right now. The Oklahoma City Thunder are surging with their young core, playing at an elite level on both ends. The Denver Nuggets still have the reigning Finals MVP in Nikola Jokic orchestrating everything. The Clippers, when healthy, present matchup nightmares. Minnesota's size and defensive intensity make them a problem for everyone. This conference is absolutely stacked, and if we want to make a legitimate championship run, we cannot afford to stand pat and hope that what we have is enough. Rob Pelinka understands this, the coaching staff understands this, and I know you understand this too. The trade deadline represents our opportunity to address these needs, to add that missing element that transforms us from a good team into a genuinely dangerous championship contender. Now, when we talk about what the Lakers need most urgently, the conversation consistently comes back to wing depth and athletic versatility. We need players who can defend multiple positions, who can switch seamlessly in pick-and-roll situations, who can attack the basket with aggression and finish through contact. We need that modern NBA forward who brings size, speed, and the ability to impact winning in various ways. Our current roster has pieces, but the depth at that position leaves us vulnerable in extended playoff series where one injury or foul trouble can completely compromise our defensive schemes and offensive balance. This isn't criticism of what we have. It's just an honest assessment of where we need reinforcement to truly maximize this championship window. The Lakers have been linked to several potential targets as the trade deadline approaches. We've heard names mentioned. We've seen reports connecting us to various players across the league, but here's where things get particularly interesting. There's one specific situation that has emerged in recent days that has analysts, insiders, and fans talking about whether the Lakers could pull off a move that brings in a young, talented forward with legitimate upside who's suddenly become available. And trust me, when I tell you who this player is and what the potential trade framework looks like, you're going to have strong opinions about whether we should pursue this aggressively or look elsewhere. Let me give you some context about this player without naming names just yet. We're talking about someone who was selected in the lottery just a few years ago, a player who scouts believed had all-star potential when he entered the league. In the 2023-24 season, this forward averaged over 16 points per game and nearly 5 rebounds, showing the ability to score in multiple ways and contribute across the board. This is a player who brings exactly the kind of athleticism I mentioned earlier, someone who can elevate above the rim, finish alley-oops, push the break in transition, and bring an energy level that could invigorate our entire rotation. At just 22 years old, we're talking about a player who theoretically hasn't even entered his prime yet, someone who could grow alongside our young pieces, while contributing immediately to winning basketball. But here's where the situation becomes even more compelling for the Lakers. This player's relationship with his current team has completely broken down. Despite signing a new contract just last offseason, a 2-year deal worth approximately $46.8 million, things have deteriorated so badly that he hasn't played a single game since December 18th. Think about that for a moment. A talented young player, someone who should be in the prime of his career development, sitting out completely because the situation has become untenable. Earlier this week, reports emerged that this player has formally requested a trade, making it clear he wants out and wants a fresh start with an organization that will give him the expanded role and long-term commitment he's seeking. And this is where the Lakers enter the picture in a meaningful way. According to reporting from credible NBA analysts, Los Angeles has been listed among the potential landing spots for this disgruntled forward. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I first saw the Lakers connected to this situation, I was somewhat surprised. This isn't a name that had been heavily linked to us throughout the season, and the dynamics of potentially trading with this particular team add layers of complexity that make this far from straightforward. But the more I've thought about it, the more I've analyzed the fit and what this could mean for our championship aspirations, the more sense it actually makes from both a basketball and strategic perspective. The player we're talking about is Jonathan Kuminga of the Golden State Warriors. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Warriors' former 7th overall pick from the 2021 draft, a player who Golden State has invested in and developed over the past few seasons, has requested a trade, and the Lakers are being mentioned as a potential destination. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right away. Trading with Golden State, our biggest rival over the past decade, the team that's eliminated us from the playoffs, that we've battled in countless memorable games. It seems almost unthinkable on the surface, but in the NBA, business often transcends rivalry, and if there's a deal that makes sense for both organizations, history suggests these things can happen. Let me break down exactly why this makes strategic sense for the Lakers to explore seriously. Kuminga brings precisely the athletic profile we've been missing. At 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan and elite explosiveness, he's the kind of forward who can defend wings, switch onto guards, and hold his own against bigger players in the post. Offensively, he's shown the ability to attack closeouts, finish above the rim, and create his own shot when needed. His 16.1 points per game last season weren't empty calories either. He was efficient around the basket and showed improved decision-making as the year progressed. This is exactly the type of young, athletic piece that could thrive playing alongside LeBron and AD, getting open looks off their gravity while also bringing his own individual creation ability. Think about how Kuminga would fit into our offensive system. With LeBron orchestrating the offense and AD commanding attention in the paint, Kuminga would have opportunities to attack scrambled defenses, cut backdoor for easy baskets, and use his athleticism to clean up offensive rebounds and putbacks. He's shown the ability to run the floor in transition, which would be perfect for our pace and the way we want to play when we're at our best. Defensively, he gives us another versatile body who can take on tough assignments and switch across multiple positions, which is essential in today's NBA, where offensive schemes are designed to hunt mismatches and exploit defensive weaknesses. Now, let's talk about the potential trade framework that's been discussed by analysts covering this situation. The proposed deal would send Rui Hachimura and Dalton Knecht to Golden State in exchange for Jonathan Kuminga. This is where it gets really interesting from an evaluation standpoint, because we're talking about trading 2 rotation players who have contributed for us this season for one player with arguably higher upside, but also more uncertainty. Hachimura has been solid for us, providing veteran presence and three-point shooting that spaces the floor. Knecht, our recent draft pick, has shown flashes of potential and represents a young asset with team-friendly contract value. Giving up both of those players is a significant commitment, so we need to carefully weigh whether Kuminga's potential impact justifies that cost. The argument in favor of making this trade centers on upside and ceiling. Kuminga is younger than Hachimura and has demonstrated higher athletic ability and defensive versatility. If the Lakers' player development staff believes they can unlock more of his potential, if they think he can become a more consistent three-point shooter and decision-maker, then you're potentially acquiring a future all-star level talent for what amounts to a solid role player and a promising but unproven rookie. From Golden State's perspective, Hachimura's shooting would help them space the floor around Steph Curry and Draymond Green, while Necht gives them a young asset to develop. It's the kind of trade that could make sense for both teams depending on their respective timelines and priorities. However, there are legitimate concerns and questions we need to address honestly. First, why has Kuminga's relationship with Golden State deteriorated so badly? Is this simply about wanting a bigger role and more money, or are there deeper issues with his approach, his work ethic, or his fit within a team culture? Golden State has won championships and developed multiple stars, so if they're willing to move on from Kuminga, we need to understand why. Second, his shooting from three-point range remains inconsistent, and in today's NBA, wings who can't space the floor present significant offensive limitations. Third, there's the question of whether Kuminga would actually embrace playing alongside LeBron and AD, or if he'd still feel his role was too limited given our star power. The reporting suggests that this should be viewed as something of an option to consider if better alternatives don't materialize for either the Lakers or Warriors. It's not being presented as the slam dunk, obvious move that both teams should rush to complete, but rather as a scenario worth exploring, given where both franchises currently stand in the Western Conference. For the Lakers, if we can't land our primary targets through trades, does it make sense to take a calculated risk on a talented young player who might flourish in a new environment, rather than sticking with what we currently have? For Golden State, if they can't repair the relationship with Kuminga and he's going to leave in free agency anyway, does it make sense to get some value back now in the form of players who fit better with their current core? Let me give you my personal take on this situation. I think the Lakers absolutely should explore this possibility seriously. Kuminga represents the exact type of athletic, versatile forward that we've struggled to find in recent years. Yes, there are risks involved, and yes, we'd be giving up assets that have value, but championship windows are finite, and LeBron's greatness won't last forever. If our scouting department and coaching staff believe Kuminga can be developed into a more complete player, if they think he'd buy into his role and maximize the opportunity to play meaningful minutes for a championship contender, then this is the kind of move that could pay enormous dividends. At 22 years old with his physical tools, the upside is undeniable, and sometimes you have to take calculated risks to acquire difference-making talent. The counterargument, which I also want to present fairly, is that Hachimura has proven he can contribute to winning basketball, and Necht represents a valuable young asset on a rookie contract who could develop into a rotation piece without costing us much financially. Trading both for a player who comes with questions about his shooting, his consistency, and his fit might be giving up too much certainty for uncertain upside. If Kuminga doesn't work out, we've essentially downgraded our depth and flexibility for nothing. This is why these decisions are so difficult, and why Rob Pelinka earns his salary making these judgment calls that could define our franchise's direction. Looking at this from a broader strategic perspective, the Lakers are clearly in win-now mode while also trying to maintain some level of future flexibility. We can't mortgage everything for this season alone, but we also can't waste what might be LeBron's final years at an elite level. Kuminga represents an interesting middle ground because he can help us now while also being young enough to be part of whatever comes next after LeBron eventually retires. That dual timeline value is rare in trade targets, and it's part of what makes this scenario so intriguing despite the complications involved in potentially dealing with Golden State. The trade deadline is just weeks away now, and we're going to see a flurry of activity as teams make their final pushes to improve their rosters for the playoff run. The Lakers cannot afford to be passive. We need to be aggressive in pursuing upgrades that give us the best possible chance to compete for a championship. Whether that ends up being Kuminga, another target we're pursuing, or a combination of moves that address multiple needs, the key is that we take action. Standing pat and hoping what we have is enough would be a mistake given how competitive the Western Conference has become. I also want to acknowledge that there are other names the Lakers have been connected to, other potential deals being discussed, and the situation remains highly fluid. The Kuminga possibility might be something we explore while simultaneously working on other frameworks that could make more sense. NBA trades are complex negotiations involving multiple parties, salary matching requirements, and strategic considerations that go beyond just basketball fit. Rob Pelinka has shown he's willing to be creative and aggressive when opportunities present themselves, and I trust that the front office is evaluating every possible avenue to improve this roster. So here's my bottom line analysis on the Jonathan Kuminga situation. This is absolutely something the Lakers should investigate thoroughly. We should be doing our due diligence, talking to people around the league about Kuminga's character and work ethic, evaluating whether our player development system can address his weaknesses, and determining if the potential reward justifies the risk of giving up Hachimura and Necht. If the answers to those questions are yes, then I think we should seriously consider pulling the trigger on this deal. Kuminga's athleticism, defensive versatility, and upside could be exactly what we need to get over the hump in the playoffs. But if there are red flags that emerge during that evaluation process, then we should be smart enough to walk away and pursue other options. Now I want to hear from you, the Lakers faithful who make this community so special. Do you think the Lakers should trade Rui Hachimura and Dalton Knecht for Jonathan Kuminga? Is the upside worth giving up two contributors for one player with more uncertainty? Or would you rather see us pursue other targets at the trade deadline? What concerns do you have about Kuminga's fit with LeBron and AD? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I read every single one, and your perspectives help shape how we analyze these situations together. If you found this breakdown valuable, if you appreciate the detailed analysis and honest conversation about our Lakers, smash that like button right now. It helps this content reach more Lakers fans who want serious, thoughtful coverage of our team. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Lakers News Fan Report and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update as we navigate this crucial trade deadline period. I'm here every day bringing you the latest news, the insider reports, and the strategic analysis you need to stay informed about everything Lakers. Share this video with your fellow fans. Let's get the conversation going about how we can build the best possible roster for a championship run. Until next time, Lakers Nation, stay locked in because the next few weeks are going to be absolutely wild. Let's go Lakers!